So this here is a video I've been really looking forward to doing. This here is a nano cube. It was an all-in-one from a Magitarium. I have it heavily planted, no CO2, dwarf baby tears that are growing healthily but not carpeting, and a very cheap Nicru light. This light was like, I think, $15, and now it's ready for an upgrade. This tank started as a typical beta fish tank, which he's still in here. I have a beautiful beta fish in here named David, thanks to my kids. When I got him, I said, "Hey guys, what do you think I should name this little beta fish?" And the first thing they said was David, so that's what stuck. And I have probably 50 or so red cherry shrimp. I'll find out when I start breaking this thing down. But this whole nightstand is going to be taken up by a 15-gallon tank. I'm going to transplant most of this into it, along with a lot of new plants. I got new hardscape, and I'm excited to get it going. And this is what's going in its place. This is the 15-gallon Aqua Japan rimless tank. As you can see, I already added the frosted background, which, to be honest, I'm not really a fan of. I did that on my 20-gallon long, and I ended up taking it off because it just made it kind of look too enclosed, almost claustrophobic. So I'll see how it does on this tank, since this one is a little deeper as far as like the depth of the tank. So I got the Twin Star 450E version 4. I got the UNS Mini dual stage regulator. I got an Awazi Filto Smart Thermo 100 and the Neo diffuser, the special curved size medium. So you've seen the equipment I got. The tank with the frosted back, 15-gallon. This is only 4. This takes up very little space on this nightstand. The 15-gallon is going to take up almost all of it. My wife doesn't know that yet. I did forget to get a CO2 drop checker. Not sure if I mentioned that, but I can grab that out of my 20-gallon long, throw it in here until I get it good readings on it. I already know my 20-gallon long is good. That tank's been set and running for a couple months now. I don't really need the drop checker in there unless I change the tank and change the bubble count again. I got all the plants, which I will show you those and get those all prepared. But let me start breaking this thing down. I have a cover on it because my cats love drinking the water out of here. So first I need to get rid of the filters. I need to pull the heater out. Got a bowl so I don't make a big mess. Now these sponge filters, I have one in the back corner. I like to leave it on when I pull it out and pull it out very slowly, or else all the gunk just falls right off of it. And if there's any shrimp, hopefully they'll come off. Pull that out of there. Get that unplugged. Pull my filter out of there. And I'm going to remove all of the plants hardscape first. That will just make it easier to get David out of there and the shrimp. Now, I can start pulling out these plants. I'm a little nervous because there is tons of baby shrimp in here, and I'm going to try my best not to lose any of them. So I guess I can start with one of the biggest pieces first, which would be this hardscape. Now none of this has been moved since I set it up about, I think it's been in this state for maybe, I don't know, 4 months. And I'm just hoping there's no baby shrimp on here. The baby shrimp really like being on this rock. And I'm not seeing any movement, so it's safe to pull out. This in the front, that's an Anubias Nana Petite. And this back here was a Java fern, which isn't really doing too well. Mainly just that one leaf. Yeah, let me continue pulling everything out of here. Now this cholla wood that I'm pulling out right now is not something you would see in an aquascape. I originally put it in here for the shrimp. I'm trying my best to balance my love for the fish and the shrimp and the aquascaping, and the shrimp just love this. So I might put that into the new Scape and just try to maybe hide it somewhere in the back behind a lot of the stem plants. That way the shrimp still have that to go and hide in, and they love feasting off of that. So I'll probably end up keeping that, and I'll try to hide it, but we'll see. There is way more babies in here than I thought there was. So let me get David out of there. Get all these baby shrimp out best I can. I'll probably end up... Oh, David's actually going after some of them now that they're all exposed. Let me get him out of there, and we'll keep going. So there are still some babies in here. There is a lot more than I thought there was. There are so many that were probably just born within the last few days, to where they're smaller than the granules of the soil. Like even just right there, I got probably at least 10. Let's see if I can get a shot of that. Fry, shrimp fry. And I just love it. This is what really got me into it. Started out as a beta tank with all artificial everything. Decided to get some shrimp in there. Decided the shrimp needed some live plants. And it just took off from there. That's really how my journey with the aquarium hobby, or planted tank, aquascape, whatever you want to call it. Oh, there's a lot in this corner. That's how that started for me. Was just these shrimp were so cool, so fascinating to me, and how much they breed, and I wanted to make sure that they had the best environment possible. Same for my beta fish, which that's why I'm upgrading the tank. I soon realized, I know there's people that will keep a beta fish in a 1 gallon tank or less, and I don't know, that's just not right. I know they'll survive, but let's strive to give our animals a happy life, no matter how small the animal is, instead of just living. Let's try to make them all happy and be in a good environment. Now is time for the fun part. Now we get to figure out where we want the hardscape, the layout for that. So I already have an idea in mind, but now seeing it sit here, I'm not sure if it's going to work. But I wanted all the rocks kind of in like a U shape, or maybe in the front, with the normal 1 inch maybe of substrate, and all dwarf baby tears in front. And then on top of the rocks, have that whole backside higher, so it's almost like a cliff. Maybe a little path with the baby tears going through, and then have the spider wood and a couple smaller rocks scattered in there. So let's just start putting some stuff down. These are the stones I got. They're just gray mountain stone. But let's just start with one of these bigger stones. Kind of see what's a good orientation for it. Thinking this face is broken right there, but the back's even worse. And if you're doing this, be very careful. What I did in my 20 gallon log, which I just don't have any right now, is I put cardboard in the bottom when I was doing this part. That way there was just no chance of damaging it all. So let me kind of get this thrown together and see what I come up with. So I'm going for something like this. Can't remember how I had it in the store, but these will both, oh great, these will both be up higher. I kind of have a somewhat of an idea. Let me get some soil in there, and we'll go from there. I know that wasn't the best way to do that, but at the time it seemed like the quickest and easiest. Let's scoot some of this back. I'm just going to use this as a nice kind of base layer. I have a lot more soil to pour on top. Back to the hardscape. So it looks backwards to me. My main viewpoint's going to be from that side. So this just looks backwards, that it's higher over here. Let me pour more soil in the back. Make sure I'm happy with that, which to be honest, I'm not. I need a smaller one over here. I think that's the problem. yeah. I think that's looking okay so far. Let me fill that back up with soil. So, I have this bag of fluval stratum or stratum. A lot of people say it doesn't have much nutrients, but I've had pretty good results with it. And also, they say to rinse it. I don't. I haven't rinsed it. As long as you fill your tank carefully and not just like flood it, you won't even get a dust cloud, which you guys will see that later.
DJ.
Okay, I don't like this branch, and it's coming forward. Let me tweak that a little bit more. I need to tweak this. I don't like how this branch is coming forward, so I think I'm going to have to readjust everything. I think that looks better. Not too bad. I need to glue all this together first before I get the plants going. That way it's time to set. And I know a lot of people use all sorts of different things, cotton pads and, you know, whatever. I just use toilet paper. Just ball up some toilet paper, stick it in some spots where it fits, where it's going to have good contact. That's a good spot, and I will break up and sprinkle some of the soil on there. That should be enough to hold it down so it doesn't start to float. I did boil this wood, but it was still even floating then. I just use, you can see that, this Loctite Ultra Liquid Control Super Glue. So any glue that is based on cyanobacillate, something like that, you can Google it. But those glues are all safe for aquarium use. All those glues you can buy at aquarium stores that are aquarium glue, that's all it is. So as long as it's based on that, then it's safe to use. And this stuff's really cool, the way it squeezes out, it doesn't make a mess. Oh great, but me moving it, it's not really good. See, some of it's smoking back here. But I'm going to crumble this up, sprinkle it on there, just to kind of hide it. Oh, it's already stiffening up. So this stuff works really well. Okay, plants are prepped. We got a Green Godzilla Boos. These top three are all Bucephalandra, Green Godzilla, Black Pearl, and Brownie Blue. Then I got 3 parts of Cryptocorin Parva. Miss Pots, I'm sorry. That is 3 pots worth. Then we got Cryptocorin lutea, also 3 pots, which there's plenty of that. And then this was an in vitro cup from UNS, and it's a HC Cuba, or dwarf baby tears. And I don't have much experience with those cups, but I will say it was not the best. The only other one I've used was Tropica, and those cups are amazing. So this was the Ultim Nature Systems, their HC Cuba. It was the most difficult thing to get the gel off of, and the plants are just kind of like mush already. Like as I was ripping them apart, they just kind of wanted to mush in my fingers, and I was being very careful. Maybe I'm doing something wrong. I'm not a pro, but it just seemed more difficult than it needed to be, and the plants didn't seem very healthy. So I'm also going to steal an AR Mini from my other tank. I'm probably going to steal an Sturgeon Repens, S Repens from the other tank as well. If I need more plants, we'll see how this looks. Get this nice and damp. I don't have a fancy pressure sprayer or anything. Nice and damp, makes it easier to plant. This fluval stratum is a very, very light soil. So if I were to try to plant almost anything in it, dry or full of water, everything just wants to float right out of it. So this dwarf baby tears especially, I'm going to be very careful with. But let me get this all nice and damp. So I'm going to start with the smallest plants, the foreground plants first, the dwarf baby tears, and I don't have as much as I hoped for. So I might just go dwarf baby tears starting in this corner, working this way. And if I run out, I'll just do the Cryptocorum parva, which I planned on doing anyways to blend. Then it will be the Cryptocorum lutea in the mid-ground, and that will transition into the Amazon sword, which I'll have back here. And I think that will look pretty decent. But let me just get going planting this. Also, these tweezers I have aren't the best. They were cheap Amazon, so they're pretty thick. They're not the best, but make them work the best I can. So I completely forgot that I got these flourish tabs. Root tabs I've never tried before. Let me throw some of those in. Carrying on with the planting. Let's go with the Crypt Parva. And then I'm going to put some of the lutea behind that. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side. So I just realized I'm not sure how much you guys missed. I just planted all the Cryptocorum parva and the lutea. I'm not sure what was recording. Now time for the big stuff. Let me do the boost plants first, the Bucephalandra. So I'm going to get this brownie blue. It's a smaller one. So I think I might wedge it between these rocks. I'll wedge the brownie blue right in here. I think that'll be good. And then the green Godzilla, which I have 2 pieces of. You can wet them down. Since it's bigger, a lot more leafy, I think I'm going to stick this one. I'll stick this one down in here. Cover up some of this wood. Now I have a lot of Christmas moss. I just don't really want to use it. I don't really like how it kind of spreads. I don't know, just wasn't my favorite. Now I'll put that down like that. The Bucephalandra Black Pearl. Stick some of this right here, down in this little hole. Like this long strip, long rhizome. I'll stick that right here. Another one. That's better. Another one of these brownie blues over here in this crack, just to fill in these little voids between the rocks. I think that'll be a nice little touch. One more clump. Let's see, might as well throw that guy right there. I'll wedge that in. There we go. I'm just going to plant this one by hand because it's so big. I'm going to dig a little hole back here. Stick it down in there. And then cover it back up. And I think that Cryptoparva and the Lutea will be a nice transition back to this gigantic Amazon sword. And plus, my betta fish really loves this plant, so he gets to keep it. Not sure which of these I'm going to trim. I'll let this thing kind of settle in for a few days or a week before I decide to trim some of that. All the other plants are okay still after I just roughhoused all that soil. Okay, now moving on to the reds. I'm going to start with, I think, the Rotella Atra. I'll plant some of this in the middle. I plan on putting all the color kind of towards the middle of the tank. I think that will look pretty nice. Oh, and that didn't go in at all. Try that again. There we go. I'll do the Rotella Atra on the front, center front, and then behind it, it's a long one. I don't know why for the life of me I can't remember the name of this right now. Something Repens. It's not Sterogine Repens. I'll put a little tag right here. Don't know why I'm having troubles remembering. Now for the final touch. It's a beautiful little AR Mini that I just stole from my 20-gallon tank. That'll be it. I think that'll be a nice little touch. A little pop of red right here. This thing will grow into a nice big bush. I might eventually steal some of the S Repens. So maybe put it right there in that spot. But besides that, I think it's going to look pretty good. Let me get this thing filled up with water and we'll go from there. This is actually 2 days later. It was starting to get late. That was Friday night when I started this. It was starting to get late. My wife wanted to go to bed, so I kind of just stopped filming. All I did from there was fill it up with water, set up the filter, got the CO2 set up, and I took the drop checker from my other tank. I'm pretty sure you can see right here. One of my Bucephalandras is floating around in that corner. I had it down here between these rocks, and it just doesn't want to stay. I don't know if my little snail keeps kind of crawling on it and lifting it up since it's not actually stuck to the rocks yet, but I have a solution for that. What I'm going to do is I have a piece of this mountain stone left over. I'm going to try to break just a small chunk off, and I'll glue it to there and get it set back in there. So all I did was take this mountain stone outside, hit it with a hammer a couple times. I got some good sized little chunks off it. Probably just going to go with the smallest one right here. That way I can still set it down in that little crevice where I wanted it. There we go. Okay. So you don't need a lot. I'm just going to stick that on there. Hold that for a few seconds. That's actually stuck pretty good. Putting in the water will actually even help cure the glue also. So let's get that back down where I had it. So it is now day 3. I've been monitoring the parameters every day. I would not recommend setting up a brand new tank and putting any type of fish, shrimp, anything living besides plants in there. You need the beneficial bacteria. The tank needs to be cycled. Fortunately, I had beneficial bacteria on some Biomax in the the internal filter that was on there. I put that into this filter also, and I've been using Fritz Zyme 7, the live nitrifying bacteria. Day 2, middle of the day, I checked the parameters. Nitrites were at 0.25 parts per million, which is the lowest it can be before 0. So I added another dose of the Fritz Zyme 7. 50% water change that night, and then this morning I checked the parameters again, and now ammonia, nitrite are 0. My hoses here are a mess on the filter because I'm not sure if that's where it's going to be or if I'm going to add lily pipes. So once I get that completely settled, I'll trim these hoses, tidy everything up. Speaking of which, this filter is absolutely silent. It's right next to my bed, can't hear it at all. And the CO2 diffuser, I love how there's that curve on the top so you can hook it on the glass. So you don't need suction cups inside the glass. It makes it look just, a lot cleaner. Same thing, I'm gonna tidy that hose up over there. I'm using the 2-hour Aquarist Apt3 in this tank. I'm doing the EI method in my 20-gallon long estimated index. And if you're new or don't know what you're doing, that can be a real pain in the butt because you have to constantly adjust how much you're dosing. I learned the hard way after that maintenance video I did where I trimmed all my stem plants down a lot. I got a crazy algae bloom with hair algae that I've been battling ever since. I've been adjusting my light, adjusting the dosage, and I'm trying to dial that in and get as much out of that hair algae out physically as I can. So this Apt3, on this tank should be a lot simpler, more straightforward. They have a really cool calculator on their website where you put in how many gallons or liters your tank is, whether you're using CO2 or not, and then there's a question mark there that shows if you have 90% slow growers or low plant mass to put no CO2 as an option, even if you are using it. Now, for me, that was quite a big difference. It went from 4 milliliters with CO2 to 1.4 milliliters without. So my tank, it's kind of in the middle. It's not low plant mass, but it's also not very high, and I do have slow growers. So I'm kind of going to go in between the recommendation and do 2 milliliters per every 3 days. I'm going to do Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So I'm just going to do 1, 2, and that's it. This pump is calibrated to each push is a milliliter. And I'll see how that works out. I'll update you guys on that. And I'll kind of compare that method, the Apt3, to the EI method. And unfortunately, guys, that's kind of it for this video. I don't really have weeks to wait to post content. So what I will do, my format for the first few videos, is I'll do like a build, a Scape, maintenance something, and a couple weeks later I'll post an update video on that. So if you want to follow along with this, be sure to subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything, only takes a second. And I will post an update video on this, probably a 30-day update. See how it's improved. I'll let you guys know any challenges I faced, anything I had to change as far as the lighting or the CO2 or the fertilizer. And by that time, my filter will be finalized, everything will be tidied up. And yeah, thank you for watching. Thank you for sticking around. Hope to see you guys in the next one.